Hi guys. So our topic for today is graphic novels. And yeah, they basically are comic books. Or they got their start there, and I think that's fair to very much compare them, if not call them basically the same thing. Graphic novels were a trend that novelists took and used the comic book form to deal with more than just superheroes. So it's kind of, graphic novels really are comic books, but they tend to deal with different types of topics. For instance, I have a few here to show you. Palestine. This is a graphic novel that talks about the situation in the Middle East, in Jerusalem, which has been in the news quite a bit recently. Always in the news. So this one's a little tough to follow. This is one of the more one of the easier pages to look at and know where to go with. But there are some in here too that are very, let me see if I can find one. Should have marked these. I marked some other things I want to show you in these books, but not some of the more chaotic pages that you'll see here. That was kind of a good example. So this is Palestine by Joe Sacco. He really wanted it to be a new kind of journalism. He spent some time in the Middle East before he wrote this book and drew this book. And so that's one. We're not reading that for this class, but I just wanted to show you guys some different graphic novels that are out there. I have used Palestine in previous classes, but I find it's really difficult. First you have to wrap your head around the whole Middle Eastern conflict before you can even begin to sort of give this graphic novel its fair due. So I'm not using that in classes anymore, but I still have it. It's a good read if you are interested in that topic. And then we have Maus, which is about the Holocaust. There's Maus 1 and Maus 2. This was written by Art Spiegelman. His parents were actually survivors of Auschwitz. So that's a lot of the topic of this particular graphic novel. We have Fun Home. These are just the ones that I happen to have on hand to show you. There are so many graphic novels I don't have that are great and worth reading, but here's Fun Home. This is really just a memoir. Not great with the mirror image. This is a memoir of a young woman who grew up at odds with her father a bit, and how they dealt with that, and the just family dynamics, and so that's Fun Home. You might like that one. Let's see, I haven't talked about Persepolis yet. Persepolis is about a young woman in the 1980s. Well, it actually follows her life through quite a bit of her youth, but she was an Iranian woman and went through her childhood during the Iranian Revolution. And so that's what this book is about. And it's all black and white in here. This one has actually also been made into a film. How would you make the graphic novel into a film? It's very unique and interesting, and it gives homage to the drawings that are already in the book, and the way that it is treated here is how it's treated in the film. So that's really cool. And then I have another Maus. That's the other Maus. And the other Persepolis. 2 volumes for each of those. I want to keep those in order because I have some things I want to show you in there. I also want to go over some graphic novel terms with you guys right now. You should probably have this handout. Either it was emailed to you, or it should be available in e-learning. Graphic novel, graphic novel / comics, terms and concepts. I want to go through some of those things with you guys. First of all, if you think about the old saying, a picture's worth 1,000 words, that's absolutely true. People might read graphic novels a little more quickly than they would read another text, but technically you shouldn't, because you should be reading the pictures as well. There's generally a lot going on in the actual drawings of a graphic novel. The picture is telling the story. A picture really is worth 1,000 words. So what are you looking for? On the handout, we'll just go right through what it says right there, because I think that's a good list of places to start, is figures and faces. So I want to show you page 9 here in Satrapi's Persepolis, about that little girl Marjan growing up in the Iranian Revolution. And you see quite a bit, well, hopefully I can get in on these, but you see quite a bit of different facial things happening here with the little Satrapi. There she is, obviously smiling. We see that We see happiness. We don't need words here to tell us that. Here we have a different facial expression with her in bed, I believe talking to God in that moment. Definitely not a smile there. And then on the bottom we have 3 expressions in a row. So make sure you're reading the faces and the figures and what's going on in the actual pictures. Those are some examples. And then sometimes the faces will not even be actual human faces, as in Spiegelman's Mouse about the Holocaust. The different nationalities are depicted with different animals. So you see it's called mouse. The Jewish people are mice, and you can see that here. And then let me find, right here you see one of the Germans, I believe. I don't know why that one's wearing stripes, but he's a pig. Down here as well. So, and there's horses in here, I believe, if I remember correctly. So all the different and the connotations that come with those things. Those pictures as well are worth 1,000 words. We also have hands and feet. Be aware of what hands and feet can tell. Look at the hands here. Quite obvious there is some sadness because she's crying. Look at the hands, body language right in this one right here, in this frame. One person in that frame has his hands on the shoulders, the other person has her hands in her pocket. So one person seems more indifferent than the other. Be aware of those types of gestures and body language and faces and hands and feet. Text can come in a lot of different ways. It can be in captions. It can be in speech balloons, it can be in thought balloons. I believe we have all 3 of those on this page here. Yep. So you have, this one's Fun Home, this one's from Fun Home. So in that, try to back up where you can see it. In that frame right there in the middle with Allison in the bathtub, she's having some thoughts. You can see those thought bubbles, bloop, 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 and they're bubbles. They're not spoken words, but thought words. The mother is in there, and she's actually speaking to her. And we know that because that's a speech balloon. And then we have captions as well, one on the frame and one above it. So that's what your text can do for you. You can also have special effect lettering, as this example I have for you from Mouse, where it says slam. And if you think about Batman, if you're ever a Batman comic reader or even watch the early Batman movies, they had biff, pow, bam, things like that all over their screens. So be aware of that, what your text can do. You also have to be aware of layout. The panels are a series of frames. You have frames. We're still going through this handout. We're on the back side of it now. Or the front side, actually. We started with the back side. And the gutter, that's the space in between the panels. So here's an example of those things. Very well laid out here in Palestine. Very easily see the gutters. They're black in this case. All the frames are identifiable. And then I wanted to show you what a bleed is. I'm down to 1 minute on my webcam here, so I might start talking a little more quickly. But there's a bleed. That's when your image goes all the way to the edge of the page. You see how you don't even get the rest of that protester's sign? This again is Palestine. This is a page of Palestine. And you're bleeding right off the page in that section. And then these are quite obvious terms actually. Foreground, midground, and background. Be aware of those. There's things happening in the midground. If you read the description here, generally where most of the action is going to take place. And then there's also a concept called graphic weight, and that's where your eye goes, and something that has more weight is going to be something that is either colored or darker or bigger than something else, or maybe breaks a pattern. Okay, I'm out of time, so that is your introduction to graphic novels. I will see you guys online or in class.